Hi friends, well, I'm back from 0G and oh my gosh, it was so wonderful. I wish you all could have been there with me because it was absolutely amazing. It was far better than I ever anticipated, and our experiments, oh my goodness, they were fantastic. Some of them worked like we thought they were going to work, and some of them didn't even come close. So I thought I'd start with this one because this one was probably the closest to what we thought was going to happen. You know, a lot of us thought gravity wouldn't have any effect on it at all. It did though, you know. So there were two things. First, Newton's first law of motion. The body at rest tends to stay at rest unless acted on by an outside force. And that is indeed what happened. So this was one, right? It went like that. And the other one was like this. See if I can get it going. Here we go. Okay. And what happened was in microgravity or 0G, it still worked exactly the same, but it was really easy. You know how when I do it, I have to use some force to make it go around. I have to use some energy from my hands, some of my muscles. But with 0G, nothing. I mean, a little bit, okay, a little bit, but almost nothing to make it spin around. It was so easy that I thought, I wonder what happens when when I'm at the bottom of the parabola and it's like 2G. And remember, you gotta lay down, you gotta keep your head in one position, you know, gotta look up at that one point in the ceiling so you don't get sick. So I couldn't watch it. So while I was laying down, I was doing this. And I think that they were trying to videotape me doing that while I was laying down. So I could hear it, but I couldn't see it, but I could feel it. And it was really hard to make it go around. It took a lot of force and a lot of energy to make it go around when it was in 2G. So I would say gravity definitely plays a part in this. In normal gravity, it takes a certain amount of force to make it go around. I'm gonna say, based on what it felt like, it took twice as much force to make it go around in 2G, and almost, I don't know how to quantify it, but probably like almost a tenth or a hundredth of the force to make it go around in 0G. So it was proportional. So less gravity, less force, more gravity, more force. So this was really cool because this one actually got along with us. Do you know what I mean? It acted exactly like we thought it was going to act, except in the pictures I have it in front of my face. And I have weird expressions on my face in all the pictures anyway, but in this, it's in front of my face in almost all the pictures. But it worked amazingly well, and I can't wait to see the video that was taken, although I was pretty far away from the camera because I did not know how to control my body. I could not get my body to go where I wanted it to go, mostly because I was in 0G. So you can't exactly walk over to the camera and go, hey, here's the camera, I'm gonna walk in front of it like I can here. So that was one frustration. So that was our first experiment. For my second experiment, I used the ring. Now I used the colored ring, which if you notice, I don't have here because I left it with my friend on 0G because I could not get it to work. So here's the problem. Something none of us, no one that I talked to even said anything about this, except Commander Kelly. He probably knew this because he kept telling me that I was in for a surprise and I probably wasn't gonna see what I thought I was gonna see. So let me move my chair out of the way here. And I'm gonna show you how we thought this is gonna work. So this is just a silver ring with the little washers on it. I'll show you in case you haven't seen this before. And you're supposed to hit this. And I always have trouble getting it started. There we go, not quite. There we go. And when you hit it and you spin this around, I don't know if you can see that very well, the washers spin around as I pull the ring. And my students and I all thought that the little washers would just not stay at the bottom. That they just pretty much just spin around. Yeah, well, we were in for a surprise because what we hadn't thought about is in 0G, guess what? The silver ring doesn't stay down. The silver ring flows like this, and like this, and like this, and gets behind you. And even if it's in your hand, it doesn't stay down because there's no gravity pulling it down. So the ring itself is like this and it's floating all over the place. Very hard to hold on to because not only is it floating all over the place, you're floating all over the place. So your feet are above your head and then your feet are behind you and then you're upside down and then your hands are like this and it's behind your head and you can't get in a position where you can get these things to go. So I thought, well, I'll hold it with two hands. Brilliant idea. How do you get it to go when you don't have a hand to go like that with, right? No matter how hard I tried, I could never get it in a position where I could go like that because it doesn't stay down. When you put it like this, then suddenly it's like this and suddenly like this. And if you look at any of the pictures that were posted or any of the pictures that I posted, you'll see that I simply could not keep it in my hands. In pictures, you'll see that it's floating away from me, so somebody else would grab it and they'd send it flying back to me. I got hit in the eye, I got hit under the nose, I got hit all over the place with it, but I could not get it to stay down so that I could go like this. So this was a total bust, okay? Total bust. I simply could not get it to stay down. None of us ever considered the fact that gravity pulls this down and keeps it in this plane. We never thought about the fact that without gravity, it would go like this or float around all over the place. I never thought about that. I'm sure you never thought about it. If you did, you never said anything to me about it because the real challenge was I could never get it oriented so I could give it a hit. So this was a great one to have with us on 0G, but it didn't do what we thought it was going to do. I gave it to someone on the flight, someone who flies, one of the crew members, Michelle, who flies on a regular basis. She's going to keep trying and try to get us a video on what it does. It's going to probably take at least 2 people to get it going, though. One person can't do it by themselves because this little bugger doesn't cooperate without gravity. It simply doesn't stay down. So as soon as I get the video, we'll have to see, but it flies all over the place. If you look at all the pictures, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. I could not get it to stay down, which was pretty cool because I hadn't anticipated that, so that was kind of fun. So there's the second one. So my third item was this, and this was a not so much of a surprise, but yet a total surprise. So I could only bring one of each because we had space restrictions and stuff, and we decided to bring the red, white, and blue one because it was so pretty. And thank you, Tammy, from Educational Innovations. Teacher Source .com. This, I don't remember, .com, sorry. This was the most beautiful thing in the world. So we were almost out of time. We had about maybe 5 parabolas left. So I unboxed it and I held it like this because those of you who've done this before know that if you lose the start, forget it, you're out of the water. Floated, and I floated up, and 30 seconds is not very long. You only have 30 seconds of 0G. So 30 seconds goes by very, very quickly. I mean, you don't believe how quickly it goes by, especially when you're having such a great time like I was. So 30 seconds. So I go like this, I move my hand, and I go to pull this out, and nothing happens. Now, I was a little surprised. I expected at least something to happen. So I pulled out some more, and nothing happened. And by now, I know that I probably only have maybe 10 or 15 seconds left if I'm lucky. So I thought, well, nothing's going to happen. Actually, I had it in this hand. I don't know. And I thought, well, nothing's going to happen. That's pretty obvious. So I pulled the cup out from underneath it. And the beads, I can't wait to see the video. The beads spread out all over. It was the most beautiful thing I've seen. It was like the beads just was like a cloud, but not like a poofy cloud, like just all over. And I remember going, wow, that is so beautiful. And then, of course, it was feet down coming out. So I'm laying down on my back, trying to get all the beads back into the cup. And I did it a couple of times. The first time was the best because they weren't tangled. But every time I did it and I just pulled it in the cup, I tangled the beads more and more and more. So by the last time I did it, and the last time when they took pictures, they were all tangled up and stuff. So it wasn't nearly as good as the first time. The last time I did it, they were so tangled. They were under me, they were around my legs, they were back of my neck. I just shoved them into my flight suit and I zipped my flight suit up because there's no way I was going to be able to get them back in the cup. They were gorgeous the first couple of times though when they weren't tangled. I mean, it just like floated out. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how beautiful they were. So gravity definitely makes an impact on the fountain piece. Definitely makes an impact on the fountain piece. And just in case you have a hankering to see this, because maybe you haven't seen it before, or maybe you forgot how beautiful it is. It goes by really fast, and so here's what it looks like. I want to make sure I have it on camera. Isn't that pretty? It's so pretty, you know? So, and then, you know, you don't have time in 0G to put it back in nice and neat, so you just kind of throw it back in. As for the rest of the flight, it was amazing. I never expected Scott Kelly to be on the flight with me, so that was an added bonus. And because he was on the flight with me, we got to do extra parabolas. I think we got 5 extra zero-G parabolas and extra lunar and Martian as well. That was awesome. Never anticipated it. Really, 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 really nice guy. I mean, just a great man. I mean, just very kind, very patient, answered all my questions, kept checking in with me to make sure that, you know, that I was okay, asking how my experiments were going, what did I find out, did I need an extra hand. He's the one that explained to me with this. He said, Nancy, you're not going to get that to go unless you have a foothold so that you're not floating around all over the place, and you know, you need some kind of an arm hold or hand hold or something to hold your body in place. He said it's going to be very hard to make it happen without those things. But as for the rest of the flight, you know, I really wanted to do my Superman. There were a lot of people in our section, so we had to have 2 lines of Supermen, if you will. I was in the first section. I really wanted a good Superman. I did very well with my Superman. You can tell by the pictures I was doing very well, except about the time I got my Superman in the right position, I realized that right up next to me, there was a GoPro. GoPros don't move, and I wasn't adept enough at zero-G to figure out how to move around the GoPro, and I knew I was going to get banged in the face by it. So the weird expression on my face was, here comes the GoPro, and it did. I got hit in the face, which it was okay. I was all right with it. I didn't really care. I was in zero-G, you guys. Are you kidding? I had a blast. I mean, everything was more fun than the thing before. I did do a couple of just floats where I just kind of floated. The first time I was in zero-G, I was afraid. I was really nervous. There's a cable on the side, each side of the flying zones that you can hang on to. I promised myself I was not going to hang on to that at all this time, and I really didn't. I only hung on to it when I had to move from one section to the other because it's really hard to move. And I just floated, you know. Half the time my feet were on the ceiling, you know, and I didn't even know it. Sometimes I did, but half the time I didn't. At one point they said, you know, when we say feet down coming out, sometimes people have their feet on the ceiling and they don't realize it. And I was like, you're crazy. The floor is flat, the ceiling is round, there's lights on the ceiling. How could you not know you're on the ceiling? Well, 2 times I found myself with my feet on the ceiling and I didn't know it. So it's possible. You just get very discombobulated, you know, you just get very disoriented. I never got sick. I never felt sick at all, not even a little bit. And I was a little concerned that I might, but I didn't. I felt just perfectly fine. You know, I just never had that like roller coaster stomach. You know how sometimes when you're like you go over a hill in a car and sometimes you go, whoa, like you can feel it in your stomach. Never had that feeling at all. Just had a great time, you know. It was just fun.